The Walking Dead season 11 trailer. There it is. Excellent. Nice applause to sort of fill in for the normal 7,000 fans at Hall H. I'm going to introduce everyone now, and then we're going to get into this. First of all, Walking Dead Universe Chief Content Officer Scott M. Gimple is here. There he is. Showrunner Angela Kang is joining us. Norman Reedus is here. Melissa McBride, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Lauren Cohan, Christian Serratos, Josh McDermott, Kari Payton, and Eleanor Matsura. And also joining the newest addition to the Walking Dead family, Michael James Shaw is here, rounding out your Walking Dead family. Well, let's just start. Okay, there's a ton of questions. I have a lot of questions. There's some questions from social media that we're going to throw in as well for the fans. But right now, let's start off with Scott Gimple. This is the first season. Normally, we premiere the show in October in the fall, and this is the first season where it's actually going to premiere in the summer. We're starting in August 22nd, as we said. So can you talk a little bit about the mechanics of that? What is that leading into? Why the change? And what can we expect?
So let's break this down. August 22nd is the premiere. Then, if you can't wait, August 15th on AMC Plus, and that will extend to the entire season. You can watch 1 week early on AMC Plus every episode. Then we have 11B, 11C. Those will be premiering next year. So we have a lot of Walking Dead coming your way.
Yeah, and again, I do like to keep reiterating is that even though we do say season 11 is the final season, it's a very lengthy season. So and part of that for me is just sort of delaying the sadness, Scott. I'm just kicking it down the field as far as I can so I don't have to feel sad about it just yet. And right now I feel okay because it's still more than a year away.
Well, it's a big story and it takes a lot of turns. Like we say, we reinvent every 8 episodes. This is 3 sets of 8. Yep. So, we're going to put people through their paces. We're going to put the audience through their paces. We're going to give them an epic, extended goodbye that will do it right. That will end, more than 10 years right.
So I want to talk to Angela about. Hi, Angela. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. So you all did such an amazing job adapting to the ever-changing state of the world during the pandemic, changing how the 10th season was going to play out, adding these 6 episodes. And I feel like how we benefited from that as fans is we got these really amazing intimate stories because that seemed to be like within the protocols and within the constraints of filming. So can you sort of talk about for you how that evolved and how those 10C episodes are now leading us into season 11?
Yeah, I think obviously the pandemic changed a lot of how we had to do everything, but it was really fun to kind of do these very focused, intimate episodes for 10C. But, season 11, we're going to go out with a bang. We're back to our big, scopy, massive, just extravaganzas with lots of great character interactions between the people we love, but also like our stunts and scares and all of that fun stuff that I think is for all of us that are working on it, part of the joy of working on this show. So yeah, season 11, like we kind of go in hard with some new stories and new characters, and I'm really excited to share it with the audience once it's time.
And from a storytelling perspective, how are those 10C episodes kind of springboarding us into this grander scope of season 11?
Yeah, I think, those episodes, they tell you a lot about sort of the emotional state, the headspace of a lot of our characters. We know that Alexandria has been basically trashed by the Whisperers, and that causes ongoing conflicts that play out in a big way in season 11. There are just some characters that were at odds with each other. There are characters whose various backstories we've explored. And then we're just starting to see mixes of different people coming off of that, going into season 11. and that's just going to inform a lot of where people go. I'm being a little vague on purpose because I don't want to spoil, but
Well done.
yeah, in the grand tradition of this show. And then obviously we've got this group that ran across these armored troopers, and that's going to be a major part of the story going forward as well.
And I assume we're talking about the Commonwealth.
I mean, for our comic book fans, they know that there's a certain storyline coming that involves people like our fine character Mercer, that's being played by Mike Shaw with great aplomb. So
yes, so I'm glad you brought that up. So Michael James Shaw is playing comic book favorite Mercer. He's finally joining the cast, but there's actually other new characters that are coming as well. So is there anything that you can share? Anything that you can announce?
yeah, we've got lots of new characters this season, but for our comic fans specifically, two of our major castings this year are the wonderful Lila Robbins, who will be playing Pamela Milton, and the also wonderful Josh Hamilton, who will be playing Lance Hornsby. And then we also have some other characters of note that, without saying who they're playing, we've got the amazing Margot Bingham and the also amazing Richie Coster. I am really excited for everybody to see what they're doing. Super cool.
Fantastic. Well, since we have Michael James Shaw here on the panel, let's lead off with you. Welcome to the Walking Dead universe. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
How are you feeling? I mean, it's a big fun thing to get to join the Walking Dead universe. Can you talk a little bit about, coming onto the show, what the experience has been like for you, like how is it so far?
This experience has been a joy, especially coming off of last year. This was like a silver lining at the end of the tunnel. Awkward kid who loved to read comic books, getting to step into the shoes of a really awesome comic book character is just a dream.
And so was there anything in particular that's obviously, we can't talk too much about Mercer because we don't want to spoil anything, but was there anything in sort of broader terms that you can speak of that surprised you, or something that excited you the most about coming on, or like what was kind of your first day like on set?
Man, I was about to shit a brick. It was daunting, stepping into this huge machine, but there was a lot of love from the cast and crew, and they welcomed me with open arms. So it was great to step into a family. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, and that's a perfect word. I mean, we always say the Walking Dead family, like once you're a part of the Walking Dead universe, you're a part of it, and I so look forward to getting to know you. I so look forward to getting to meet Mercer, to getting to meet your Mercer, and seeing you on more of these panels, and hopefully getting you to come on Talking Dead to talk about it, as things develop. So welcome.
Thank you.
So Melissa, Carol seemed a bit lost at the end of season 10. She and Daryl are in a little bit of an awkward place. They're having some moments. She tried to help Negan by sending him away, only to have him come back. So where does Carol fit into the community as we head into season 11?
Oh, I think just, caring is enough to fit in. Anything on top of that is icing.
We talked a lot about on Talking Dead about how, this relationship with Daryl, well, they were really kind of anchors for each other for so long, and then they kind of come at odds, but then seem to come out of it. So where do you think she feels like that relationship is, going into season 11?
I think just through all the years that they've survived together, they have their ups and downs, and I think that she knows that they're going to get beyond this. She hopes that they're going to get beyond this.
That's good. It seemed like that was the case as we kind of wrapped out the end of last season. And also, I can't imagine those two wouldn't figure it out. I just can't imagine.
No.
No. But speaking of friendship, Josh McDermott, thank you for joining us. Josh McDermott, it's nice to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Eugene's relationship with Stephanie and his belief that this new connection could help the group, could help expand the group, could help in all sorts of ways, led to what might be described as a precarious situation. So do you think Do you think he's questioning this decision at that point, or do you think he still feels like, nope, I'm going with my gut on this. I think it's going to be okay.
I mean, I think we're starting to see the first cracks of that. He, he is a bit of a risk taker in his own way, and is able to read a lot of situations that other people might not necessarily be able to read as well. And I think he kind of entered into the situation thinking like, this is going to happen. We're going to get, they're going to come up and they're going to want to question us or whatever. But all of a sudden they're just kind of like separated and thrown into train cars. And I think we're starting to see the first cracks of like, oh crap, like, did I make the wrong call here? He certainly is doing this for the people back home in Alexandria, but I think he's also starting to feel the guilt of, his friends getting captured with Princess and Ezekiel and Yumiko, and starting to question like, hey, did I make the right call? I think that, everybody that they ever encounter along the way, there's a certain level of distrust. And he certainly trusts Stephanie from his conversations on the radio. And yeah, there's definitely like, okay, I'm sticking to this, but what if? And like I said, we're starting to see the first kind of cracks in that veneer there.
I mean, listen, I think there might have been a period where I think we might have gone, well, is Eugene really doing the right thing here? There's a period of time where he was with the Saviors. Obviously, that all worked out quite well. And in that moment, I think we learned, like, you can trust this guy. Like, he's always got something going on in the back of his mind. He's already like a chess game trying to think 10 moves ahead of where everything's at.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? Is that kind of part of his MO?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, yeah, especially like when we saw him at the Sanctuary and he really got over on Negan and made Negan his bitch. I mean, that was right, Jeff?
Yeah.
You remember we had that conversation.
Minding my own business. I don't even know what the hell's happening right.
Yeah, I definitely, he's always kind of working something, but like I said, he's starting to question it. I mean, he obviously doesn't know, the state of Alexandria with the Whisperers and that whole war, because he left while that was still going on. And, that was a risky move. And I think that he's just starting to question like, oh, is this the time that I'm not going to succeed in my choices? So it's definitely something that's not in the back of his mind, but in the front of his mind.
Well, I think that's a great segue over to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is literally in the most relaxed position that anyone has ever been on a panel.
I feel like this is a normal position. It's a pretty normal position for my Comic-Con.
Rocking around, you're by a pool.
Bowing to Josh. It's kind of how I roll.
Of course. The Here's Negan episode, I think, will go down as, one of the most impactful episodes, I think, in the Walking Dead universe. It was such an amazing opportunity to get to experience that. How do you think, do you think that swayed anyone who was not Team Negan before the Here's Negan episode? What have you noticed from the response?
I don't know if it'll ever sway the people that hate Negan. I think they're just always gonna hate Negan. I think if there was people on the fence that may have turned him a little bit, but I think the opportunity to do that and tell that story was exceedingly special, and to be able to do it with Hillary and during this crazy time, it's certainly a highlight of one of the highlights of my time here on The Walking Dead, which has been many a moon now.
I know. I remember. I remember when it happened.
I didn't know that I would be here this long.
Well, you never know on a Walking Dead show. That's the thing. What do I get?
That's
1 episode, 7 episodes? What am I going to, whenever your phone rings and it's Scott Gimple, you're like, well, I'm not going to answer it because it can't happen.
That's exactly right.
Call. But at the end, where we see Negan burning the bat, we see Negan burning Bat Lucille.
Yeah.
And he sort of has this moment. And I kind of wonder, like, okay, he's sort of saying goodbye to old Negan, but I don't think that he's necessarily fully embracing, tomato growing Negan either. So is this kind of an evolution of Negan that has traces of both? Where do you see him right now?
I think there's definitely an evolution of Negan, but I would be hard pressed to say that old Negan will ever disappear. I think that will always be a part of who he is. But I think that at this point, he is trying everything he can to kind of fit in with this group of people. And I think was doing okay until Maggie came back. And now it's a whole new ball game for him. And one that he's trying to figure out. But I think at a certain point, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just there's too much tension between the two of them. So we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure if I've ever asked you this question before. This is from Negan Simp wants to know, do you have a favorite Negan one-liner?
I mean, there's for any given circumstance, but I think I said a couple things to Andy, to Rick in season 7 that will always remain close to my heart. I think when I handed him the bat was kind of my favorite moment, just because it bugged him so much. But I think every episode we find a new kind of Negan tagline, which is fun to kind of work on and throw out there. He's got a lot of t-shirt liners, one-liners, or coffee mug one-liners, so it's hard to pick one.
Not just that, but also I think, because I actually have like a diapers, like Negan's pants, as like someone actually made the diapers, which would be the aforementioned pants, and I think that's pretty iconic.
That is pretty good. As a matter of fact, I want to say that you gave me a said packet of those diapers at a Comic-Con a few years ago.
That is absolutely true.
I have in my office.
Good.
Yeah, we've got some Negan Depends somewhere.
That's why you're so relaxed.
Yeah, I'm in no hurry. Let's take our time.
Points to Scott Gimple. All right. So sort of shifting focus a little bit and kind of building off the Negan conversation and talking to Lauren now, the complexity of the Maggie Negan relationship. How do you think Maggie is being behind the gates with Negan, especially now with Herschel there, her son? How do you think she's kind of managing that?
I mean, that's the whole season. That's what we're going to unpack this year. So I will, like, if there's a feeling that could be had, we'll probably spend some time on that feeling, and then we'll move on to another one of any. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy. It's been the most fun I've ever had on this show, in terms of like just navigating, like cruising through this ocean of what you want to do and what you can do, and where she's been.
That moment in the episode where we see Herschel for the first time, which was a pretty emotional, like, there were so many emotions that are packed into it, because of Glenn, where she's back, and now I feel like I had a similar experience the first time we saw Judith Grimes, and I sort of felt that like hope for the future. And then I see little Herschel with the cap on, and it just pulls at so many different things, but also feeling some hope for the future. Does that represent all those things for her? Does Herschel represent all those things for her?
I think the innocence of him, and also what we get to understand is what he's had to see because of where he's been and what all these kids have seen. But there's some pretty dark stuff that they've been through as mother and son. And it's like the contrast of, the hope for him and everything that he, like the life of his dad that we get to still see continued through him, just butted right up against the most horrible human emotions, and like just this, like, to want safety for him and a stronghold for him. And I'm explaining this so terribly. There's just like I feel like there's just no short answer to it. But it's at every juncture when things seem so dark and so dire, I feel like we get to go back and see Herschel and remember what it's for, and not just for my young son, but for all the kids in this. It's just like those themes in the season of the terrible things we have to do to protect what's pure and wonderful is like, I mean, that sustains you and helps you sometimes make hopefully better decisions, sometimes really tough decisions.
Sort of really quickly, whatever you can say about Maggie's experience with the Reapers, because she seems to have a little more knowledge about them than maybe she initially lets on. Is there anything you can say about that?
I think without saying so hard, you'd think we'd be so good at this by now. I think without saying too much. No. I think the thing with the Reapers is like they're on this really difficult journey, and then they are being, hunted basically by this group just to add this level of trying to get their basic needs met, and then being really for what just seems like sport from the Reapers that our people have been so and actually in this case it's Maggie's kind of friends and newer friends and family, and then it ends up coming a little bit closer to it's just too many things. I've said too many.
Well, then I think this is a perfect point to ask Angela. Is there anything you can tease about the Reapers and how, as I guess villains, they fit in? Like what is it that's unique to them that you see fitting into this kind of landscape of other villains that we've seen?
Yeah, I think I'll say that the Reapers, one of the things that kind of sets them apart is that they are incredibly skilled, and not like skilled like they had to pick it up along the way. They were skilled coming into the apocalypse. So every single one of them is like an incredibly brutal, organized warrior. And so whereas, like, for example, the Whisperers, they sort of had this like chaotic way that they kind of went about the world and moved with the Walkers. These are just, kind of like the pinnacle of like human killers. So it's just a very formidable type of enemy to go up against. They don't rely on numbers and volume of people to fight against in order to kind of survive. So they're a tight-knit group, and they're just really, really formidable in a way that our characters don't often come across.
I'd love to ask Kari about, because King Ezekiel has been through quite a lot. He's currently going through a lot. He came out of a world where he was just trying to survive in the general sense, and now he's essentially fighting his own kind of personal apocalypse, I guess, for lack of a better term. So what is it that's keeping him going at this point?
Well, let me tell you, Chris. Honestly, it's I think he's dealing with a lot of push and pull. He's intrinsically a very positive fellow, but he's had a lot of up happen to him, and that kind of thing just wears on you. And I think it creeps into his being, even without him knowing it. He wants to be, kind of a light in a dark place, but people keep dousing the light, and so I'm hoping that they start to get closer to that light at the end of the tunnel.
We've definitely seen a very understandable shift in how he sort of presents himself to the world. And with the kingdom, he was this larger than life character because that's who they needed him to be. Do you miss that version of him with the big speeches and the very presentational, that way about him?
Yeah. I what I miss is the dichotomy. I miss the going back and forth, because he would use that when he needed to, and then he would pull back, when he felt it was appropriate. And I feel like, that's one of the things that we miss about Ezekiel, and maybe that's something that he can find somewhere along this season, he's been hanging out in the audience, but waiting for his stage to arrive again,
Right. Christian Serratos, welcome. Nice to see you as well.
Hey.
Hey, can we talk a little bit about how, because Rosita has also been through an incredible evolution on the show. She's, I feel like there's, so much dimension has been added to her character. Is there a particular aspect of her that you're embracing more now, or versus when we first saw her with her small group so many years ago?
I don't know. I feel like I always saw a lot of these things in her. It's why I loved the character so much from the jump. Is she was very strong, unapologetic, smart, creative. And when she picked her family, she really gave all she could to them, for them. We saw that a lot in season 7 when she was willing to, risk her safety and her life for the people that she loved. And I just think she's got these amazing, admirable qualities. And now, especially that she's a mom, I just feel, very connected to her. And I'm just really proud that I've had the opportunity to play such a strong woman, such a strong Latina. And I'm just really looking forward to what's going to come for the rest of the season and her time on the show.
Has your approach to training, like the fighting stuff, has your approach changed over the years? How do you see it now?
No, I just try to look proficient in whatever I do and not faint, and that's all we can do.
I want to ask Eleanor about Yumiko, and she seemed pretty disillusioned, and was, I would say, the most skeptical of Princess when the group met her last season. What does she think now about this new group that they've encountered, and now that they've all been captured? I mean, do you think this is just going to heighten her skepticism? Like, where do you feel like, again, all these characters have been through a lot, but Yumiko's definitely been through a lot. Where do you think she is kind of going into this last season?
Well, I think last season, when they first kind of embarked on this journey, this weird foursome that were never previously connected to each other in any way. So we were all kind of coming from something or running from something. Yumiko was like running from a breakup, and she really didn't have any reason to stay back at Hilltop anymore. So she agrees to go with everybody, and I think has a very open mind about kind of getting help for people and then having a fresh start. And I think someone like Princess at first just like rubbed her up all kinds of the wrong way. Yumiko's very organized. She thinks a lot with her head. She's very, she leads from here, and Princess is just all heart and all, says how she feels all the time. So I think at first it was a bit of a shock, but now I think there's like a beautiful understanding that comes with like immersing yourself in a journey like this and going through everything that we've gone through. They're just like, it's become very sisterly. I think I keep Princess in check, and I think she keeps me like connected with like my feelings and my heart. She doesn't let me get away with them too much head stuff. So we found this kind of nice dynamic in this weird foursome. Like I said, that sort of it's so unusual that we were put together, but weirdly we really made it work.
Okay, so now I definitely I have a couple questions for you, Norman Reedus.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience coming out of the kind of virtual nature of how, I mean, you've been around for quite a few seasons. So how did your approach change? As an actor, how did your approach change to sort of accommodate the adaptation of these pandemic episodes, and then going into back to the normal expansiveness of regular Walking Dead?
You got to get there earlier. You're micing yourself. I got a lot of things strapped to me, so it takes me forever. Also, like, we've always, I see all these little memes and stuff of me like slapping Andy on the butt and high-fiving Steven and doing all this stuff. Like, we kind of started out as this group of huggers, and everybody hugged and everybody kind of got into it. And the shooting in the pandemic, it's a little less huggy, which I don't like. But for the most part, I think we've settled into a groove where we're kind of feeling like we're back to normal. You know what I mean? The little 6 episodes was rougher because everybody was wrapped in plastic and it was weird. But I think we're finding our groove again. And now that we're going into bigger episodes, am I working? You're all frozen.
You're moving. I can see you.
Okay, cool.
Where do you think Daryl is right now? Like emotionally, where do you think where is he going into season 11 as we get into this final stretch of 24 episodes?
You know, I heard this interview on Howard Stern yesterday with Elton John, and he was talking about his friendship with John Lennon and how he wishes that John Lennon was around so that John Lennon could comment on the world we're living in right now. I kind of feel that way with like all the characters that have come before. Like I feel like Elton John a little bit. Like I wonder what Andy would think or Rick would think about this. I wonder what Herschel or any of these people, because I think like my character and in particular to me anyway, that I feel like he's changed in all these different ways, but he takes little pieces of all these people that he's learned from. And I mean, I think out of all the characters, I know Negan's a big baddie and stuff, but I feel like if the apocalypse didn't happen, Daryl would be the one that you wouldn't put your hand out and say hello to. So I feel like he's morphed in all these different directions because of all of these people that have come before him, and he's trying to hang on. I mean, it's like a bad Thanksgiving Day dinner with every relative you have, and you got crazy loud uncle, and you got the kids breaking the stuff, and all the personalities coming together. So it's, I think he's trying to just hold on and keep it together, and everybody's kind of spinning off in all these little tornadoes. So I'm curious myself, to be honest.
To be on the air as long as Walking Dead has, this is such rarefied television air for like a non-procedural show, like not like a procedural cop show, but like this giant narrative arc. What do you think Daryl has picked up along the way? Are there particular things that he's picked up from different characters along the way that have really informed who he is? And do you have any particular thoughts or favorites?
I feel like he's definitely become compassionate and sympathetic, which he didn't have those things in his wheelhouse before. He's forgiving now. He lets people do their thing and he's not judgmental, I guess is a good thing to say. It's wild being on the air this long. I have to tell you, it's crazy to play a character this long because of how much it blends into your real life, and you can't help it. I think a lot of the things that Daryl has learned, I've learned, but I don't know. I think we both still kind of hate people too sometimes. And I feel so much for Daryl too. I can separate him a little bit in my head, but I don't know. I want good things for him,
Angela, what are you excited for people to finally experience in this last season, besides obviously the scope returning to, what it was?
Lots of things. I think for me, I've just been, we're doing editorial. So I've been, last night I was cutting one of the episodes. So I've seen like the first 6. And just, I love our cast so much. And I'll just say that every person on this panel, I'll just in order of squares I see, Christian has made me cry. Norman has there's this scene that's so long and tense and just heart pounding, just incredible, nuance and depth. Josh has made me laugh out loud so hard. Melissa has also made me cry. Lauren has made me go oh, Kari, just so much warmth, just gave me all the feels. Mike Shaw just made me kind of sit up and go, all right, that's cool. Excellent. Eleanor has dazzled me. Jeffrey has made me just feel like I don't know what he's going to do next, like in the best way. So just every actor, I just think they're always bringing their A game. I'm so excited for everybody to just see what all of these wonderful actors bring to these characters that they love. Like really at the end of the day, like this show is about people. The zombies are fun, the action is fun, but it's about these people. So that's what I'm excited for.
Well, I want to thank you all so much for being here for Virtual Comic-Con 2021. I am very much looking forward to next year. Hopefully we'll be back in person in Hall H. It will be a very important year to be there, in addition to coming back to in-person Comic-Con, but also, for the final stretch. But as we've reminded you plenty of times, there's a lot more road to go. There's plenty of episodes. There are plenty of other, there's a lot of Walking Dead shows. And then also we have all of next year. So we will be here through all of it. If you want to see the season 11 trailer again, it is available on YouTube. As a reminder, the season 11 will premiere Sunday, August 22nd at 9 p.m. 8 Central, followed by Talking Dead, of course. And if you want to see the premiere a week earlier on August 15th, you can do so on AMC Plus. I want to thank everyone so much for being here. Norman Reedus, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Scott Gimple, Mike Shaw, Eleanor Matsura, Kari Payton, Lauren Cohan. We have Melissa McBride, Josh McDermott, Angela Kang, and of course, Christian Serratos. Thank you so much for joining us for Virtual Comic-Con. Thank you for taking the time. I hope you're doing well out there, and I look forward to seeing you very, very, very soon in person. Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, guys.